franchised by the act of the new state, largest Negro population in the Creek Nation. Says the fact that on last Tuesday, Oklahoma put in force for the first time a constitutional amendment disenfranchising a large percentage of the Negro voters of the state has focused considerable attention on the Negro question in the state. Oklahoma was not situated like her older southern sisters, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, etc., which have enacted legislation depriving most of the Negroes of the right of the ballot. These states had such a great percentage of Negro population that the domination of the white man was threatened by the numerical superiority of the blacks. Especially was this so in Louisiana and Mississippi, where 50% of the population are Negroes. Here, being Oklahoma, on the contrary, the Negroes number only 140,000, or about 8% of the total population. Neither are they as ignorant as the genuine Southern Negro, for it is estimated that here fully 80% can read and write to a limited degree. Nor are the Oklahoma Negroes so lacking in the prosperity as the Negroes in Louisiana and Mississippi farms. There, the general rule is the Negro works on halves or rents, only a small percentage own land. Here, a large percentage of the Negro population on the eastern side of the state have rich allotments from their Indian citizenship.
Stop. We stop right here. So, what we're talking about here is the Indian citizenship. The Indian citizenship is the Negroes who are reclassified as Indians. So the Indians are the Negroes. Get it? Everything you listening to is in reverse.
I was trying to make it bigger, right? And all over the state, generally the state nigger has prospered. Now they make a distinction between the ones from the South, calling them the Southern Negro, and the ones in Oklahoma is referred to in this article as state nigger, has prospered, as have nearly all persons who have been here for some years and have worked hard. Now, the 1910 census shows that approximately 90,000 Negroes were on the east side or in old Indian territory, 50,000 in old Oklahoma territory on the west side. Of the Indian Territory Negroes, 60,000 are bunched close together in the 3rd Congressional District within a radius of nearly 40 miles, in which the largest town is Muskogee. The 3rd District consists of the counties cut from the Creek and Cherokee nations and Seminole County, made from the Seminole Nation. It would appear, therefore, that most of the Negroes of Oklahoma proportionately are in the Creek and Cherokee nations and such.
Stop. What you are hearing is stop right there. No, do not talk. True Scamorian. True Scamorian, be quiet. What you're listening here is this was put before your very eyes and you never saw the trick. But today, we're revealing the truth. You just now heard it. 100,000 Negro Indians in Indian territory. This is the truth. Scam gods. Hit the cash app. Let's go.
Is the case. A still narrower localization shows the Cherokee Nation counties contain no undue proportion of Negroes generally, but that the Creek Nation counties contain approximately 45,000 Negroes, or nearly 1/3 of the total Negro population of Oklahoma. Muskogee County, 16,534. Wagner County, 8,745. Okfuskee County, 8,092. Okmulgee, 5,979. Creek, 1,817. Tulsa, 2,695. McIntosh, 5,304. And Seminole, 4,149. Are still with me? It is therefore in the Creek Nation adjacent to Muskogee that the densest Negro population is found. Right? Let's go on and see what they say. It says, and it was in this region that the disfranchising clause had its origin. While the total white population of these counties is considerably larger than the Negro, the latter in many localities only practically townships of land, which they have received as allotments. This has given rise to solid Negro communities. which of course are most bitterly detested by the whites surrounding. Just across the Arkansas River from Muskogee in Wagner County, fully 5,000 blacks thrive. At Redbird, Wybark, and Porter, they cast fully 800 votes. At Taft and Muskogee County, 2,000 Negroes, either in the village or on farms nearby. There are other townships in Muskogee County equally crowded. But the blackest spot includes the villages of Rentersville, Grayson, Wild.
Pause. Hold on. True Scamorian. Hold on. True Scamorian. Hold on. Somebody shout out for the scam app. Shout out for the scam app. The Dolls Rose. We'll get into that. But right now, we're learning about the Negro Indians who are misclassified as Indians, you are hearing right now primary evidence, primary documents of who your ancestors were in the South. You know what I'm saying? Damn, I lost the screen. You got to give me a second. Let me pull it back up. I mean, hold on. Give me a second. We're going back. We ain't done yet. We just started. We're going to learn about the real adepts from the adept chambers today. We're going to see some real black Moors today and some real black professors today. You guys should have a lot of questions after the events of the past week and the revelations that you are getting. This was prophesied and was done right before your very eyes. The fix was already in. You guys just couldn't see it. Now let's go.
Wildcat, Council Hill, and the town of Boley. Boley, Oklahoma is very important. And surrounding townships comprising portions of Muskogee, McIntosh, and Oxfuskee counties. Boley is the largest Negro town in the United States, having a population of about 2,000 and is surrounded by populous Negro farming communities. At Wildcat, white men are warned to depart before sundown. Usually, blacks had something called sundown towns, but now they're talking about, whites had something called sundown towns, but now they're talking about blacks having sundown towns. That's because, as we can read, at Wildcat, white men are warned to depart before sundown. This entire community of Negroes numbers probably 15,000 souls. It was here that occurred the Henrietta Race War and Crazy Snake Rebellion, the last of which was heralded in the summer of 1900 as a big Indian war. In neither case was there any great trouble. One Negro was killed in the race war.
Stop. Did you hear? I have to choose. Yo, listen, hold on. True Scam Orient. Hold on. True Scam Orient. Hold on. Understand that they call it the Negro War, an Indian war, and there was 15,000 people there. Scam God.
So now we have a race war between Indians and Negroes.
Oh, that's not right. Don't worry about that. That's the trick. Don't worry about that. Scam Orient.
If you want to do further research, you should look up that. It should be some more information on it. It is said that one or two were killed in the Crazy Snake War. They were both scares, regular outbursts of panic among the white communities surrounding these Negro settlements. Okay, the Negroes in this Creek Nation settlements are usually Creek freedmen. In the nomenclature of Indian Territory, a Negro possessing the rights of Indian citizenship is called a freedman. All other Negroes are referred to as state Negroes. Hence, Creek freedmen, Cherokee freedmen, etc. Says the history of the Negro in Oklahoma began with their introduction as slaves. All of the 5 civilized tribes had slaves. Cherokees and Creeks had many. When the various tribes moved to the Indian Territory 3/4 of a century ago, they brought their Negro slaves along. At the time of the Civil War, these slaves obtained their freedom by the Lincoln Emancipation Proclamation.
Okay, true Scam Orient. Hold on. We have to clarify something. Those Indians that they're talking about that enslaved the Negroes, those people are Negroes too. So you see, Negroes enslaved other Negroes. The same way you have blacks, right, that wasn't a part of the tribes, that was enslaving people. Just want to clarify that. Okay, true scam orient.
So not only were Southern Black folks freed, this also freed Black folks who were enslaved by Indians. It says here the victorious Union went farther than in the Southern states, however. There the Negro obtained his freedom only. Here, his former master was compelled to grant him full rights of Indian citizenship. So the emancipation for Black folks who were enslaved by Native Americans, the emancipation provided for them what? Full rights of Indian citizenship, and consequently to share in the Indian lands. This is what the Emancipation Proclamation did for Negroes who were in.
Okay. Hold on, true scam orient. So I will no longer be making commentary on the Indian part. Okay, true scam orient. The choice is yours. This is the choice. You have a choice to make. You have a choice to make. Everybody has a choice. Do you believe that the Negroes were misclassified as Indians and Indians are the real Negroes? Do you believe that these are the original inhabitants of the Americas? Or do you believe that these are different people who enslaved the Negroes? You have a choice to make. Choose your poison. Scam gods.
Enslaved. Part of that, they had to become a part of that Indian nation and were granted land. This was due to the fact that many of the Indians had proved recalcitrant, look it up, to the north and went to the south. All treaties were disrupted, of course, and when the war was over, in order to get back into the good graces of the national government, what did they do? The Indians were compelled to sign treaties allowing their former Negro slaves to share in their landed inheritance. In the Cherokee, Seminole, and Creek nations, the Negroes shared equally. In the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations, he got about 1/4. The right of Indian citizenship soon led to a growing amalgamation of the Seminole and Creek Negroes with the Indians. So that today, let me blow this up. So that
hold on, true scam orient. What do you mean by Seminole and Creek Negroes with the Indians? What are you speaking upon?
Today, it is often impossible to differentiate between a Seminole Indian and a Seminole freedman. In the Creek Nation, there is a large mixture of Negro and Indian blood. Some Creek families preserve themselves from this taint, but they are small numbers compared with those who did not. In Muskogee today, peace, James, are one or two prominent families of high social rank in a position through which runs a strong trace of Negro blood. They ignore this, of course, and so do their friends. A story is told there of the abrupt termination of the engagement of a daughter of one of these families to a Chicago man when he learned from her father, quite incidentally, that somewhere back the Creek blood had become mixed with Negro. The Choctaw and Chickasaws resisted this amalgamation strenuously, but little of it is found in those nations. The Cherokees always had the highest of all American Indians, held to the white man's standard, and have preserved themselves absolutely from any taint of Negro blood. The numerical strength of the Creek freedmen makes them an important factor in that part of the state. Several Negroes sit on the Creek Council, among them, by the way, old Charlie Roberts, who lives on Adams Creek, east of Tulsa, and who had at least accounts of 24 living children. All the Creek freedmen received 160 acres of land each. They got more than the Negro got with his alleged 40 acres and a mule. If you were enslaved by Creeks, you ended up with 160 acres of land. When the Creek Nation was allotted, and many of these Negroes were made very wealthy, when the great Oklahoma oil fields were discovered. The Glen Pool, which was the biggest oil pool in the world until the California wells began spouting, is in the Creek Nation, as is nearly all of the Tulsa, Sapulpa, Ocmulgee, Muskogee drilling. It is therefore not surprising that the Muskogee County has been represented for 2 years and yada, yada, yada. I won't go, I think I've read enough. But do you see how, in this particular instance, in Oklahoma, and that history is important. There's a whole another enslavement going on, and those Negroes um, ended up with land and ended up getting citizenship due to the Emancipation Proclamation. This is what a lot of them to become part. It was a stipulation that was made that they had to be made citizens of those Indian nations and granted land. Of course, the Indians tried to push back on it, but it was, it was something that had to be done, or else the weight of the government would come down on them severely. So, what this leads to, if people are wondering, putting it together, is you get the beginnings of towns being owned by us. Because we are now, what's happening is people from the South are moving out west in search of freedom and less persecutions than they were receiving, even though slavery had ended. And they started going out in that direction. So now you have different types of Africans or Negroes, if you will, there. You have ones who were enslaved under Europeans, and you have those who were formerly enslaved under Indians. And what this leads to is the development of those towns out there, those Negro towns that people speak of, right? So you have Boley, Oklahoma, which is very, very important. This is the areas where your Black Wall Street comes in. This is where Kansas comes in. This is all of those success stories that we have out west formed because you have a group of us who have gotten land and have become millionaires, some of us, due to the fact that the land that they gave them, they tried to be slick and gave them land that was not the best to farm and grow crops on. But what they did not know is they gave them land that sat literally on top of oil fields. One of the people in particular, if you're interested, is to look up Sarah Rector, who was the youngest Black millionaire in the world. She was a young girl, and she inherited, well, she got the land. Her family did. They were gone, and it became hers. And she had many suitors from all over the world, white, Asian, and otherwise, wanted to marry her because she was a millionaire. And it's interesting. This is one of the few things that Booker T. Washington and Du Bois had worked together on, was protecting Sarah Rector so she would not be manipulated and her money be taken from her. So you have a good group of Black folks who became super wealthy oil barons. This is like one of those missing parts that they never told us. Like, they were literally oil barons. And if I could find another one real quick, I could give you an example and show you what I'm talking about. So as we can see here, squaw men and oil well, blah, 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 blah. The whites also profit. Death of small son. This one is cut for some reason. But the richest Indian citizens of the home, the richest Negro citizens state, and many of the richest men have become so because phenomenal oil and natural strikes made in Indian territory. It was a lucky Indian or Negro man who happened to have his land allotted in this marvelously productive oil belt. And it was even a more lucky squaw man whose marriage with an Indian woman was placed him in the control of land in this district. Zeke Moore, a Creek Indian freeman, now the richest Negro in the Southwest, was a miner and a prisoner in the federal penitentiary at Leavenworth when the oil strike was made in the now famous town of Glen Pool Field. He was in a penitentiary when he became of age and was induced, while still a prisoner, to sign several leases to his land allotment, 160 acres. Remember, they got 160 acres, tract near Tulsa. The land is worth $500,000. This is in 1910. So that's got to be, what, over $1 million today? And by decision of the United States District Court at Muskogee, Moore is entitled to 10% royalties from oil taken from the wells on this land. So now we can see this is how you have that black contingent with money and resources coming up. And you can see the emergence of towns due to the fact that we have money and land now. So we built businesses in those areas and combined with black folks coming from the north, east, as well as the south and going out west. One of the movements, if you want to look it up, was called the Exodus movement, Exodusters. And the person who did that was a man, I think I have a clip for that too, named Pap Singleton. Many others did it, but he was one of them. And so, as you can see, this is Pap Singleton. They had a celebration for him in honor of Pat Singleton, a Grand Republican. Yes, we were Republicans at the time. Pap Singleton, the originator of the colored immigration from the South to the West, and father of the late great Exodus in the 74 years of his age. So Pap Singleton is a name you want to go and do some research on, as well as the Exodus movement, to understand how the Southern Negro and the Northern Negro make their way out west and meet up with the Negro who was enslaved under the Indians. And those combinations start to form the foundation as they come together to make a solid community of the towns that we began to develop out west, like Boley and Tulsa and all these other places. So this is something I think this is a part of history we need to look into, not necessarily look and say, hey, we're Indian or all that, but to see how these different groups of Negroes.
Keyword, hey, we're Indian. This has been thrown in your face. Scam guards is in the building. But behold, this will be your last time getting such information, because this is not what the people want. You don't want this. Oh, but we're going to keep going, because I just have this. This is a gateway. This is going to lead us into where we are about to go. So it's very important that you pay attention to this video, because this video is what you should write down, all of the names that you hear and everything that you hear. So when the storm comes, you know how to rationalize this in your brain. Stop sending me Facebook messages. Stop texting me. Stop telling me stop. Don't do it. I'm not listening to you. I am here for the people. Not only am I here for the people, I am here not for the hearts and the minds of those specific people. I am here for the pockets of the people. Yes, I'm going to tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me, Yahweh. Islamatech
Came together to form something that we hold dearly. Things like the emergence of those towns and millionaires that come about from this. One of the millionaires that we can speak of, I think I mentioned it, and I should have a clip on her so you can see it firsthand. She has a Wikipedia page as well that you need to do some research on. Here you go. It's 1920 from the Muskogee County Democrat. Trustees Young and Porter give up management of richest Negro girl's fortune, right? Transfer the estate of Sarah Rector, richest Negro in the world, to her mother's management from the hands of the trustees. Million Young and T.J. Porter was to be made late this afternoon or tomorrow. Reason for the transfer was not given, yada, yada, yada. So Sarah, who was known throughout the world as the richest Negro girl and one of the richest girls of any race, became of age last March. Why did she get that? Because like I told you, the land that she got was on oil. Says the transfer, which was being prepared this morning for recording, is one of the largest of the kind to be made in the Southwest and places in the hands of Sarah and her relatives a fortune accumulated through gas and oil production on allotments originally given her as the child of a Creek freedman. Remember the first article? They got 160 acres. So that's how they got the land. No one knew it was oil under there. How did they get the land? Let's go back what we just read. The Emancipation Proclamation required the Indian who had enslaved the Negro to not only free him, they had to give him Indian citizenship and allot him or her land. So they became a, yes, Sarah Rector, you read, was a part of the Muskogee Nation. How? What did we just read in the first article? That was part of the stipulation of the Emancipation Proclamation. They had to give them Indian citizenship. So how did she get the land? They had to give them the land. And now, what do we see? We see them with this land in Eureka. We got oil under it. And people like Standard Oil and some of our biggest companies, this is how they gain their wealth, because they swindle us. We're supposed to, if anybody's old enough to remember the series Dallas and JR and the oil barons and that whole thing, you know what? They swiped that from us. And this is something that has been lost to history. And I think we need to do to investigate it just to see how we got swindled out of that. We're supposed to be oil barons. We barely know people into oil unless they're working at the gas station. But look at this. That's ours. That's not a myth. We're reading it. We're reading it. And Sarah Rector is one of the most famous examples of.
Hold on, Truth Scamorian. It's our land. It's ours. Follow us. Pay attention to the video, because after this, we're going to show you how you obtain that land. We're going to show you genealogy. Genealogy. Yes, sir. Get your land patents. Scam gods.
That, but there were many Black children who were millionaires. You see? So this is how we can work through that. And if we want to study this Indian contribution and connection, why don't we, my suggestion, one of the things you could do is look at things like this. You don't have to get into all this other crap, but look at this has been lost to our history. I think all of our children, there's a book, children's book on Sarah Rector. Pick it up and give it to your kids so they can see. Like, yeah,
they don't want that.
We were millionaires. She was the richest Black girl in the world.
Cares.
From oil.
Yeah. Right.
You know? That's in the news.
Yeah.
That in particular is 1920. So you can get a sense of the era.
Word.
What else did I want to do? So I wanted to show you one more thing, that even the Indian got on the joke of trying to make fun of us. I thought I had it in here, but I do. Just give me a second and I can scroll through it so you guys can see it. Oh, here you go. So we have minstrel shows and white folks in blackface. How about this? This is 1905. There you go. What does it say? Indians in blackface.
Time out, Truth Scamorian. Truth Scamorian. What are you doing, bro? Why are you showing this information, bro? Indians in blackface. These niggas never heard of this. Actually, it went over their head. Listen, man. Last time, pay attention to this video. I paused it there for a second. What? Yo, Truth Scamorian, hold on, nigga. Keep the video right there. Listen, pay attention. Grab this, because this right here is going to be the filter for your system. For those who are really into this type of pseudo information, this will be your filter. There's no turning back now. Don't text me. Stop emailing me. Stop telling me to stop. It's not stopping. Scam God. I'm done.
Passamaquoddy tribe at Pleasant Point Village enlivened their Christmas festival with coon songs and cakewalks. Here's your Indians in blackface. Says no event of the entire year among the Indians of Quadi tribe at Pleasant Point Villages look forward to with much interest and expectations of pleasure as the annual Christmas Tree Festival and unique entertainment which took place the week. While the event is not held on Christmas Eve, as those of the white folks, it does not make any difference to the papooses of the tribe. Yada, 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 yada.
Papoose.
And it goes on to tell you, okay, the Passamaquoddy Indians brass band recently back from the St. Louis Fair arrived about 6:30 and marched to the stage where they were seated, and following them came about 25 young Indians in gay costumes. Gay, not gay is different back then, it's happy. Many of them having, what? Let me skip back. Many of them having burnt cork on their faces, for most of the evening show was to be of the darky kind, which made such a hit last year. Blackface, Indians singing coon songs and doing cakewalks. And if you want to know what the cakewalk is, please check the MBK channel, and we have a nice video on the history of the cakewalk.
Blah, blah, blah.
See? Blackface, Indians making fun of us. There they go.
Those were the white Indians.
That is just, a little something that I wanted to cover in that regard. Like I say, welcome all those who join. This is MBK in the news, and this isn't in the news of today. This is in the news of yesterday. And hopefully you can get a few things so you can further your own research if you're interested in some of these topics. Let me just stop sharing for a second and check the chat. I want to say welcome to everyone who's joined us. If there's any questions so far, please.
Stop this for a minute. How you guys doing? How you doing out here? Let's go check the chat, because it's about to turn up on that True Scamorian is about to turn up on you. Yeah, man. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. I hope you're enjoying it. What's going on here? Selling oil and land patents. Hell yeah, nigga, we selling that. But I'm being very serious with y'all right now. I need you guys to pay attention to this video, bro, because this is gonna be the filter for your system. This is the filter, because after this, you will no longer see this ever again. Hi, Tassa. I saw you came into the clubhouse the other day. We are now here. I submit to you, Aboriginal woman. I understand that, the black people are the Aboriginals. And I am going to be the one to teach you. I'm going to do it like no one has ever done before. So, get your team. You need to switch sides and get with the winning team. Because I am the one who has 77 trillion years of downloaded information. Yes. Yes. Blackface, we're going to be wearing the real indigenous garments. You're going to see that. But in any event, I'm just checking up on y'all. Scamology in the building, awoke on scam mode. Question. So do this give validity to guys that's claiming that they are original Indians? That's up for the person to decide. We giving it to you to decide, because what you just heard was how those people got there. You just heard of how they were enslaved. You just heard how they got that land. You just heard about the richest black woman there. So, hey, the choice is yours. Get scammed or fuck with the scam gods. This video is the filter for your system. What do we have here? White folks in Oklahoma are labeled Indians, and they don't look like Indians just because they had white blood or lived with whites and were labeled Indians, and the dark skins got taken advantage of. Okay. But in any event, we will be going back to the information so you can listen to True Scam Orient. True Scam Orient is coming back. Okay, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. We're gonna look up James Cody Johnson, y'all. James Cody Johnson. Negroes and Indians are the same, y'all. Scam God. Hit the fucking Cash App. The best place for your money is in my Cash App. Hit the Cash App. This is what you niggas want. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't lie and say it's not. This is what you want. I'm gonna give it to you. Here you go.
Let's see. This. Because I just looked at a clip that I have for him. So I can see my screen. Was it present to everyone? Yeah, just bear with me as I scroll through these in the end. And I will show you that I even have a picture of James Cody Johnson somewhere. Just bear with me, guys. And I will show you. Uh-oh. Who's that? Who you that, James? Look at that. Who's that? So let's read about Mr. Johnson. Here we go. Okay. An Indian interpreter. A Lincoln graduate, Lincoln University, leader for Aborigines. Let's look close because this is kind of interesting. What do they call them? So, in fact, they did call some of the Native Americans Aborigines, so they may not be incorrect.
Hold on, True Scam Orient. Hold on. You see, we've been telling you the truth since day one, but you just didn't catch on, bro. Y'all was too blind. You didn't want to listen. Niggas was the Aborigines. We the niggas with the primaries. Them other niggas on the other side, them niggas only know the words. They ain't got this type of divine information and this divine light that comes from 70 trillion years of downloaded information. They don't have this. We gonna show you the black man is the Aborigine. Let's go, True Scam
Orient. Term, because this is the paper. It's actually the Colored American, which is a black newspaper from 1904, and it says an Indian interpreter. So let's read a little bit. In the news, right? Washington City is indeed the mecca for all Americans who have the money and desire to travel. At the convening of each session of Congress and at the close, leading men of the large and small cities come to, I think it's, wait, hold on, let me just, is it down here? No, okay. Come to every state and territory from all Washington. There is never an idle or uninteresting day, the coming and going of new people, yada, 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 yada. One of this class who attracted attention on Pennsylvania Avenue last winter and spring was Colonel Cody J. Johnson, interpreter for the Seminole Nation. This is him. Let me make my screen bigger. Okay. This is him. Great picture, by the way. Wish I had a color, but there you go. And then we're going to go to, it says continue on page 4. So I'm going to go to page 4 and see it. It says means of large holdings, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Johnson attracted attention first because of his splendid physical development and because of his inseparable companionship with the party of Indians. Principal Chief Halbuta Miko, Second Chief Thomas Little. As is generally known, the Seminole Indians are rich, and while their present number will not run far up into the thousands, they are worth millions of dollars. Mr. Johnson is to the manner born and was reared up with them, so to speak. His relations with them are peculiar, as nearly all of their holdings are entrusted very largely into his hands. Unlike many young men who have grown up with the Western country, he has the advantage of a college education and is therefore doubly equipped for the great duties that devolve upon him and that have been assigned to his keeping. His career briefly is this. He was educated at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania and belongs to the class of 1884. After leaving college, he returned to his home in the Indian Territory and engaged in the cattle industry. As a cowboy, he roamed over Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. Later, he served as U.S. court interpreter for what was probably the greatest court on earth, the United States Court for the Western District of Arkansas, which had jurisdiction over the Indian Territory and Oklahoma. This court was presided over by Judge I.C. Parker, who hanged 68 men. I don't know how that's a great accomplishment, but anyway, Mr. J has the reputation of being the best Indian interpreter in the Indian Territory. He read law under Judge Parker while interpreter for his court and was admitted to the bar and actively engaged in his profession at Wewoka IT. He's besides Secretary and National Interpreter for the Seminoles, a member of the Creek legislature and the leader of the House, Grand Master of the Masons. I see why you wanted me to read this, James, of Oklahoma and Indian Territory. Probably no greater tribute can be paid to Mr. Johnson's ability than that paid by the chief of the Creek Nation. Recently, in speaking of Mr. Johnson, he said, "This man carries the affairs, and I may add the destiny of 2 nations on his shoulders, and he carries them lightly. He represents an oddity in American history, being the first and only Negro representing the original American citizens before the United States government." So he is super important as well. If you want to understand or get into that part of history, their interpreter and their leader, as far as fighting for their rights, was a black man who grew up in Creek territory. Let's go back to what we first said when we read the first article. There were plenty of those folks in Muskogee and all those other towns who were there. And as far back as the Emancipation Proclamation, one of the requirements was they had to be given Indian citizenship. This is how he's a part of that Creeks. And once again, for those who might want to see his picture, there he is. There he is. So somewhere in his line, he may also have some Native Americans in him, sure. No question. So that's James. And yes, we just read and saw how he was a Creek and why he became a Creek. So he's a figure. Let's go back, and this isn't me just randomly searching. I'm just showing you. I've had this stuff for years, as you can see, 8,306 clips. This isn't random. This is stuff I've had already. Just scrolling in here. I wanted to talk about a few more things, but not necessarily dealing with Indians. But it's just I wanted to show this part. You know, you got little stuff like this. In 1908, there was a clash between the Snake Indians and Negroes near Sonora, Oklahoma. Yesterday, the Indians declared the Negroes, yada, yada. So there's that clash. And I think I referred to it another about the Snake Indian War that they had between the Indians and the black folks who were out there. As far as that, what else did I want to show you? I wanted to definitely show you the ones in blackface. It was there. I have a clipping from the 1700s that I'm trying to find for you guys, so you can just see how they were mentioned back in the 1700s as well. Maybe it's up top. Is this it? Oh, this is St. Augustine from 1739. I know a lot of people know about St. Augustine, so let's see what they say. 1739, this is from the Pennsylvania Gazette. It says the Spaniards of St. Augustine in Georgia have issued a proclamation giving freedom to all white servants and Negro or Indian slaves belonging to Carolina, Purisburg, or Georgia, that will go over to them and have a lot of them land near St. Augustine where upwards of 700 have been received, to the great loss of the planters of those parts, runaway Africans. There you go. That's St. Augustine. Once again, this is 1739. Them running away to that region, which will prove their run if a stop is not put to such a villainous proceeding. This is a certain proof of their intent to attack Georgia, in which case their servants and slaves are to be their pilots and our worst enemies. Black folks were running away from plantations in South Carolina and Georgia to go to Florida, and many of us know about St. Augustine. And so here you go. This is 1739 once again. Peace, all those who just came in. Happy New Year to all. If you don't celebrate it, happy January 1st. And this is just in the news. And this is taking a look back in history and not necessarily today's news. So this is 1739, and we can see an example of that. Right? Peace, George. George, I know I owe you that. What else can we go through? And once again, this is not the Indian bashing hour, any of that. Just want to share some history, and so maybe you could go further and do your own research if you are, like I say, interested in the topic, or just learning some more about it. But I would like people to start investigating the great things that we did going out west. We accomplished great things that should not be lost to history because we have developed towns. I'm talking to my phone like I'm on my phone. I'm talking to computers. This is hilarious. But anyway, we developed towns that we had. So if we want to look to an example of what do we need to do and how do we move, we can look at what we've already accomplished and learn from the positive things they did as well as the errors that may have led to the demise of those towns. Although to this day, there are still Black towns. So I don't want to put it out there like they're all gone. They just may not be in the best position as they could have. And if people are looking to have Black towns, maybe that's something you can go and investigate and, bring those back to life or help, restore them to the prominence that they had
this
at
true
one point.
Story guy is boring, man.
That's my main intent, is maybe you go and do some research and say, you know what, I got some land out in Oklahoma or whatever. We can see how they started and possibly emulate the successes that they had, which would be great.
You already know. Salute to everybody that's rocking with us right now. This is part one. I think Remy El Ma'at is going live. So I want everybody that's rocking with the community, everybody that rock with Trip C's Treehouse, I want y'all to go and subscribe to Remy El Ma'at. It's right there on your channel, right there on the screen. We about to go over there and talk right now live. So I want anybody that's listening to this live to head over there and join us on Remy El Ma'at. That's where we're going to be. I'm about to end this right now. This is part one of Real Negro, Real Jews, Real Moors, just breaking down the whole thing. To me, this wasn't a debate. This was just knowledge being thrown out. Even in debates, the person that's listening in is really not the debater. So you're just there really sometimes to just pluck the knowledge that you need to pluck out of the conversations or the debate. You know what I mean? While the two debaters, I don't think this wasn't a debate, but I'm just saying though, while the two debaters are going at it, matching wits and all type of things like that, we as the spectators are picking the knowledge that we want, getting the knowledge that we want out of the conversation. So remember, here in the community, we don't like to debate. We like to dialogue. If there's multiple ways of life and different things, then we can converse, discuss that, and come up to correlations and solutions to how we can be productive and not counterproductive with each other. You see what I'm saying? So it's all about that. You already know those. One love, one voice, one community. Make sure y'all all subscribing to the backup channel, One Community 2. Remember, subscribe to the backup channel, One Community TWO, because when you're vibrating on a high level and we bringing people together like this, people try to bring us down, but we can't bring down good things, right? All right, so make sure that you're always a part of a good thing. and we always a part of building and bringing each other up and lifting each other up. So as far as bringing someone up, Remiel Ma'at, we're going to be right over there now. He's already going live. CCC TV will be over there as well. Make sure you subscribe to Trip C's Treehouse. Subscribe to One Community TWO. You already know we going live on Remiel Ma'at. I'm over there, man. Pull up, pull up, pull up.